guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing something a little bit different, and I'm starting a new series on my channel called Collection Close-Ups. And the reason is I get so many questions about some of the gowns in my collection that I thought I would actually give you guys a really in-depth look as to what the gowns consist of, what materials they're made of, what they look like up close, so that if you guys aren't living in the same city as me, which is Canberra in Australia, then you can still see these dresses up close. So today's close-up is going to be with my Miami beach gown. So you might have seen this gown on Instagram over the last couple of months. It has a beautiful open shirt dress style. So before we get into the dress and all the details of the dress, I do need to tell you that it actually took quite a long while for me to actually design this dress. So before a dress comes into production, I actually have to do a lot of sketching and a lot of design. So if you guys have watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I do a lot of sketching for my collections, and this dress is no different. I remember actually going through dozens and dozens of styles that were very similar to this before I decided on this style. I had a lot of different necklines apart from the shirt neckline. I had a lot of different sleeves as well, and a lot of different skirt shapes. So I was testing out a lot of different things to see what I liked and what I wanted to make. Okay, let's get into the dress. So the first thing that I want to tell you guys is that when I design for my collection, a lot of the times I'm designing for runway and designing for editorial photo shoots. So most of the time you'll notice that my gowns could be really sheer, or they might not be completely practical to wear for a wedding, and that is deliberate. And that is so that I can basically push my design boundaries and show people what I can do. So it's not just about designing a traditional dress. A lot of people can do that, but it's about designing something different, unique, and a little bit outside the box. So this dress, as you may know, has a bodysuit. So let's start with the bodysuit component. So underneath this shirt is a sequined bodysuit in the sort of mermaid colouring. So it has a multicolor, what's it called? Is it pearlescent? It's not pearlescent, but it's similar to pearlescent, where it's white, but when it shines in the light it can look pink, it can look yellow, it can look orange, and there's even like a light blue kind of colouring to it as well. Absolutely gorgeous. When I saw this fabric, I knew this was exactly what I wanted for this bodysuit. I originally was going to have this bodysuit in just a white sequin or a clear sequin, but I really love that this has that little different element to it as well. It's also the smaller sequins, so I find that looks a little bit more classy, and it gives more glisten than the bigger sequins. They can look a little bit chunky. So that pretty much is a very simple bodysuit. There is a little bit of boning in the bodice here, and there's also padding in the cups, and there's the zipper closure at the back. There is a built-in bra into this top component, so there's actually a strap in the back as well that can hold you in tight. And then we've got the sheer shirt component. So I'm just going to button this up again so we can see it properly. The thing I love the most about this top is the fact that it's sheer, and it's the right type of sheer. I went through quite a few fabric options before I finalized and decided on the organza. I was going to go with a sparkling organza, I was going to go with a sequined organza, I was going to go with some beaded fabric. There were so many options, but I decided to pare it right back and just do something really simple, because the design kind of speaks for itself with the shirt, the opening, with the bodysuit underneath, etc. So I knew that I wanted this outer skirt dress to be sheer. I tossed up whether to actually use tulle instead of organza, but the difference with organza is it's actually really voluminous. So if you're considering a sheer fabric but you still want volume and floatiness, then I would really look at organza, because it's got that floatiness, and that's why I did, you know, the puffy sleeves, and that's how these sleeves work. If it was in tulle, yes, it still would have sort of had a little bit of puff, but we would have had to add sort of more gathering, and with tulle it can look spiky, if that makes sense, whereas organza will always be soft and round. The hem of organza is curled like this, like a wave, whereas tulle sits in a very spiky way, and it's very rigid at the bottom. Even the softest of tulles will look like that unless you cut the hem differently. So basically we've got the organza top. We did this shirt collar up the top, which is just gorgeous. I've actually added a stiff tulle within this shirt collar to make it a little bit stiffer, so that, you know, if she wanted to pop the collar, she could, and it sort of sits up and it isn't sort of flimsy and soft. I've also added these gorgeous round crystal buttons. This is a new addition. We have been doing crystal buttons for years here in the studio, but they haven't been as popular as pearl buttons, but I just wanted to feature them because something I really consider when I'm designing my dresses is, what do I need in my studio? What are clients asking for that I don't have an example of, that I need to show them? And organza was one of those things. Believe it or not, I didn't have an organza wedding dress or an organza skirt in my collection, and I've got, you know, hundreds of gowns in the studio, so I thought it was really important to do something in organza so that I can show my clients when they come and see me and say, you know, I'm not sure whether I want an organza skirt or a tulle skirt. I can show them the options. So and that's the same with these crystal buttons. I needed to be able to show clients these crystal buttons. More and more clients are doing beaded sparkling gowns, and because of this reason, if there's no pearl elements in the beading, it can look a bit odd to do pearl buttons. So, which is why I always opt for crystal buttons, and I just wanted to make sure I show clients, you know, how they look. I've done these right to the floor. In hindsight, maybe that was a bit excessive, and I say that because it can actually weigh a little bit. So if you're using a light material like organza, like I've used, if you're using crystal buttons, be kind of careful if you don't have lining, that it can weigh the fabric down. And you can sort of see here on one side where the buttons are, the shirt kind of flops because it's being weighed down by those buttons, whereas this side is staying nice and straight. Something to consider. I've also done some gathering in the waist. This is just to draw this shirt dress in a little bit and give it that, you know, in and out hourglass shape. I've also done a 3/4 sleeve with a puff on the end. I've also done the same matching crystal buttons along the sleeve, and I do that so we can close the sleeve quite close, so it's going to sit nice and fitted on her arm. In the bottom, obviously the buttons go right down to the floor. It is an open shirt style, so it can be worn open shirt, but you can actually close it as well, and that's no issue. Or you can, you know, adjust how much of it you want it closed. All of these are elastic loops, so they're really easily maneuverable, and you can just slip them over the buttons and flip them off. Okay, on the skirt we also have some invisible pockets. Now this has been, well, I wouldn't say that they're invisible. We cut them in an invisible way, and we've used sheer lining so that you can't see them that much, but when your hands are in them you will see them, as you can see from my hand here. So, but people love this extra touch because a lot of girls these days feel comfortable with their hands in their pockets, and I understand why. I'm exactly the same. So I always like to add pockets wherever I can. So normally it's not on a fitted dress, so anything other than a fitted dress around that hip area, I can add a button. I can add pockets. Okay, so this one has a gorgeous full train, not very long. I've used 2 layers of organza here, so it's a little bit voluminous, but it's still quite sheer. So I've got 2 layers, like so. And then let's have a look at the back. So nothing too fancy in the back here. It's quite a plain back deliberately because the fabric is sheer. So the bodysuit is underneath. Don't mind it's looking a bit bunchy there. I had to pin it in place because it was a little bit loose for the doll. We've got all that gathering as well along the waist here, and it flares out. Absolutely gorgeous. It makes a real statement, guys, if you're looking at something like this. And the train is about a 50cm train. Well guys, that's pretty much it for that gown. So that is our Miami Beach gown for our 2020 collection. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It is a little bit of a different dress, and it's not something that is normally worn to a wedding. Great for like a beach wedding, great on a honeymoon, if you've got, say you've got an engagement party or something like that along the beach. Absolutely gorgeous if it's really hot in the middle of summer. Thank you for tuning in and watching the first episode of my collection close-up series. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you have, and leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please be a part of my community and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do videos like this all the time, as well as vlogs and fashion videos. I hope to see you next time in my next video. Thanks for coming. Bye bye.